Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's from Canto 2, chapter 7, and text 30 today. So without further ado, we'll start the class. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Gopī Jana Vallabha Girivadadari, Jaya Gopī Jana Vallabha Girivadadari, Yaśodā Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yaśodā Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Gopī Jana Vallabha Girivadadari, Jaya Gopī Jana Vallabha Girivadadari, Yaśodā Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yaśodā Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Privajikacharya Stottara Satyasishimada's Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Privajikacharya Astottara Satasi Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Sivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mathura Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktavinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Prabhupada. Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tira Swami Tinamini. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Siddhartha Sri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Namini. Narayana Namaste Cha Narotevam Narotamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nashtapai Swabhadre Sunityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamaśloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 7, that's scheduled incarnations with specific functions, text 30. Gṛhṇīta yadyat upabandham amuṣya mātā śulbaṁ sutasya natutat amuṣya māti jṛmbhato vadane bhuvanāni gopī saṁvīkṣya śaṅkita-manāḥ pratibodhitāsīt gṛhṇīta yadyat upabandham no gṛhṇīta yadyat upabandham amuṣya mātā śulbaṁ sutasya natutat amuṣya māti jṛmbhato vadane bhuvanāni gopī saṁvīkṣya śaṅkita-manāḥ pratibodhitāsīt gṛhṇīta yadyat upabandham amuṣya mātā śulbaṁ sutasya natutat amuṣya māti jṛmbhato vadane bhuvanāni gopī saṁvīkṣya śaṅkita-manāḥ pratibodhitāsīt. Krishna Gada Prabhu, please. Hare Krishna.
gṛhṇīta yadyat upabandham amuṣya mātā śulbaṁ sutasya natutaddharamuṣya māti jṛmbhato vadane bhuvanāni gopī saṁvīkṣya śaṅkita-manāḥ pratibodhitāsīt.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Anyone else?
gṛhṇīta yadyat upabandham amuṣya mātā śulbaṁ sutasya nātu tad amuṣya māti jṛmbhato asya vadane bhuvanāni gopī saṁvīkṣya śaṅkita-manāḥ pratibodhitāsīt. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Okay, we'll do word for word. Gṛhṇīta, by taking up. Yat, whatsoever. Upabandham, ropes for tying. Amuṣya, his. Mātā, mother. śulbaṁ, ropes. Sutasya, of her son. Not. To, however. Tat, by and by. Amuṣya, his. Māti, was sufficient. Yat, that which. Jṛmbhato, opening the mouth. Amuṣya, of him. Vadane, in the mouth. Bhuvanāni, the worlds. Gopī, the cowherd woman. saṁvīkṣya, so seeing it. śaṅkita-manāḥ, doubtful in mind. pratibodhitāsīt, convinced in a different way. Asīt, was so done. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Kṛṣṇa. When the cowherd woman, Kṛṣṇa's foster mother, Yaśodā, was trying to tie the hands of her son with ropes, she found the rope to be always insufficient in length. And when she finally gave up, Lord Kṛṣṇa by and by opened his mouth, wherein the mother found all the universes situated. Seeing this, she was doubtful in her mind, but she was convinced in a different manner of the mystic nature of her son. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. One day, Lord Kṛṣṇa, as the naughty child, disturbed his mother Yaśodā, and she began to tie up the child with ropes just to punish him. But no matter how much rope she used, she found it always insufficient. Thus, she became fatigued. But in the meantime, the Lord opened his mouth, and the affectionate mother saw within the mouth of her son all the universes situated together. The mother was astonished, but out of her deep affection for Kṛṣṇa, she thought that the Almighty Godhead Narayan had kindly looked after her son just to protect him from all the continuous calamities happening to him. Because of her deep affection for Kṛṣṇa, she could never think that her very son was Narayan, the personality of Godhead himself. That is the action of Yogamaya, the internal potency of the Supreme Lord, which acts to perfect all the pastimes of the Lord with his different types of devotees. Who could play such wonders without being God? Om Gnati Mirandasya Gyana Gyana Shalakaya Chakshu Om Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Tapitam Dena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Preshnaya Bhutale Swati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarini. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Guratishe Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Jai. The English translation again. When the cowherd woman, Krishna's foster mother, Yaśodā, was trying to tie the hands of her son with ropes, she found the rope to be always insufficient in length. And when she finally gave up, Lord Kṛṣṇa by and by opened his mouth, wherein the mother found all the universes situated. Seeing this, she was doubtful in her mind, but she was convinced in a different manner of the mystic nature of her son. Very interesting pastime of mother and son relationship, which in Sanskrit is called the Vatsalya ras. There are 5 different kinds of ras, and this is one of the more intimate ones. Mother and son. As we know, even in this material world, those who are parents, we know that when our son or daughter is little, we really go through our own material pastimes with them, all kinds of things that they do. Yeah, and sometimes, when they grow up and you tell them you were like this when they were young, of course, they don't remember, but it sounds funny to them also. So Kṛṣṇa was playing the role of a perfect child, but perfect by his own will and by his own activities. Whatever Kṛṣṇa does makes his devotees fall more and more in love with him, whatever the relationship that they have with him. This is what the pure devotees of the Lord are teaching us to eventually develop love for the Lord. And with that, all the happiness that we think we can get somewhere else will actually come naturally to us. It all has to do with loving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's the example has been given many times. Srila Prabhupada himself gave it, and now, of course, many of us use the same example also. If you want to nourish a tree, you water just the root. If you water the roots, all the parts of the trees will be satisfied. We want love. We're trying to love different things. We're trying to love different animals. We're trying to love different gadgets. But if we love Kṛṣṇa, our love will be so complete and so mature that we will always be in the right consciousness. And that's why the aim for a devotee is Kṛṣṇa Prema. In the different temples, early in the morning after Mangalarati, the program, when we say the 10 offenses, then it's also, we say anyone who is the Vaishnava only guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired goal, aim. And what is the desired goal? Kṛṣṇa Prema. Kṛṣṇa Prema. This is said every morning in the different temples in ISKCON around the world. So this is a mother-son relationship, and it's wonderful. Sometimes people say, well, but God is our Supreme Father. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Does he play the role of father? Absolutely. Even in relating to his devotees, sometimes he plays that role too. In Dwarka, he married 16,108 wives. He had 10 children, 10 sons. So he was a father then. He was a father then. But the intimate relationship of father to son or mother to son is so deep that even the pastimes involving that. Satyavrat Muni has said, who wrote the Damodara-astakam, he has said, I don't want to hear any other pastimes about Kṛṣṇa. The childhood pastimes are so wonderful. I'll just stay with that. In American language, I'll just stay with that. I don't need any other situations in the material world. And I don't even need other things that the spiritual can supply me, even the spiritual world can supply me. I just want to be focused on these pastimes. The pastimes give me so much bliss. And now a little bit of it is being talked about here. And the first one, there's 2 things that happen. First, Kṛṣṇa's mother trying to tie him up. So what caused all of this? There's a backstory to that. And that is in the 10th canto in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto is Krishna book. So in chapter 9, this is how it happened. The maidservants, Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yaśodā, the wife of Nanda Maharaj, they were in the palace. So there are maidservants that serve. And on this particular day, the maidservants, all of them were engaged in other types of work. So Mother Yaśodā knew that there had to be yogurt that to be churned into butter. Usually it's done by the maidservants. But since they were all occupied, she decided to do it herself. And even just the churning, it's wonderful. There's a pastime talked about that early in the morning, in every house, this churning is going on. And you could literally hear from house to house the movement of the the mortar and pestle that's used in the churning. You move back and forth, clockwise, counterclockwise, clockwise, around, and then the other way, then around again, and the other way, like that to churn. So this time, the other thing that happens that I wanted to tell that is Mother Yaśodā usually when she's doing that, she's also singing songs. All the gopis actually do it when they do it. They sing songs, but Mother Yaśodā songs are always about Kṛṣṇa. It's always about Kṛṣṇa. How much he loves Kṛṣṇa. So she was churning the butter, and Kṛṣṇa came after a while and asked, since she was that young, that whether she could get breast milk from Mother Yaśodā. Mother Yaśodā immediately agreed, put Kṛṣṇa on her lap, and then Kṛṣṇa started to get the breast milk. Now, at that time, Mother Yaśodā also had cow's milk in a pan, in a pot, on stove. So it was heating up, heating up, heating up. Now, one of the things that's described in Vrindavan is that everything is alive. Everything is alive. So the Goswamis go into a little more detail about this whole thing about the pastime involving the milk also on the oven. I mean, on the stove was boiling. It started boiling, and it is explained now for us in materially, it seems like a stretch, but when everything is alive, everything can reason. So the way it's explained by the Goswamis is that the milk, being aware that Kṛṣṇa was not going to drink, Kṛṣṇa was taking breast milk from her mother. They felt, well, they can't serve Kṛṣṇa because the breast milk is going to serve Kṛṣṇa like that. And so they gave up trying or hoping for the milk, not trying, but hoping for Kṛṣṇa to actually drink that. And that's why physically it seems like the milk just boiled over. But the deeper meaning given by the Goswamis is that the milk was basically giving up in terms of, well, Kṛṣṇa won't come to me, he's going to Mother Yaśodā. So they boiled over. But what happens at that time, Mother Yaśodā saw it. As we even know now, if we put milk on the stove and it boils over, it gets very hot because the heat's been turned up so high and it boils over. It will make a sound, boiling over. And that sound it's almost like frying type sound. But Yaśodā heard it. And so she had to attend to the milk on the stove. Well, Kṛṣṇa was on her breast, so she put Kṛṣṇa aside and went to attend to the milk on the stove, or it says here on the oven. Stop it from overflowing. But Kṛṣṇa didn't appreciate being in the middle of a meal and being stopped like that. As we all know, those of us that have children, we never make the mistake of telling a child when he's in the middle of eating, go do this, go do that, go do that. Parents know, they just know that when the child is eating, you don't interrupt and say, go do something else. Or in this case, because Mother Yaśodā was actually the source of the supplying of the nutrient of the milk, she shouldn't have gone anywhere. But then if you look at the milk, should the milk have been allowed to just keep boiling over? Anyway, debatable, but This is what Mother Yaśodā did. She put Kṛṣṇa aside, went to attend to the milk. Kṛṣṇa got upset about it. So she took a piece of stone and broke the churning pot, entered the room, began to eat the freshly churned butter. But Yaśodā finished attending to the overflowing milk, came back, saw the pot was broken, the one that she was using. She could understand it had to be the work of Kṛṣṇa. Kṛṣṇa was not in that room. She went to a different room to eat butter. Actually, the monkeys joined him there too. Then Mother Yaśodā went searching for Kṛṣṇa. When she entered the room, then she saw Kṛṣṇa standing on this large mortar for grinding spices. He had turned it over so that the bottom side was now up, and she has climbed over it, and she's reaching to the butter that was hanging in pots up. That's the way they had it, from the ceiling or swing, as is explained here. So she was eating some and distributing the butter to the monkeys. So soon as Kṛṣṇa saw that his mother had come, he immediately jumped down and started to run away. But Yaśodā began to follow. So basically, when Yaśodā was chasing Kṛṣṇa, it's also that about this part of the pastime. Again, pure devotees, the saints, explain this, that again, before I say it, everything in Vrindavan is alive. There were flowers in the hair of Mother Yaśodā. And again, the Goswamis explained that this is physically, it seemed the flowers, because Mother Yaśodā was running, some of the flowers fell from her hair onto the ground as she was going after Kṛṣṇa. Again, it's explained that the flowers, being alive, also were surprised that Mother Yaśodā, chasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that many sadhus spent so many years trying to have audience of Kṛṣṇa through all kinds of austerities, they don't even get it. And now a simple cowherd lady is able to come to Kṛṣṇa or to taste Kṛṣṇa like that. So they had so much reverence for Mother Yaśodā that they decided we shouldn't be on Mother Yaśoda's head, we should be at her feet. And therefore they came down from the hair down to the ground, which is where the feet is of Mother Yaśodā. So this is how it's explained. So some of these pastimes are explained, you can see it from the point of view of what we are used to and what we expect. We know about gravity and know about what, things boiling over if you put so much heat to it, that's all there. But in Vrindavan, things are transcendental and everything is alive. And therefore, the interpretation, it takes people who are highly advanced to actually be able to explain like that. Anyway, Mother Yaśodā finally caught Kṛṣṇa, or let's put it more specifically, Kṛṣṇa allowed Mother Yaśodā to get to him out of love. So Mother Yaśodā catches Kṛṣṇa, and Kṛṣṇa started crying because he knew that he had been offensive. He had broken one pot, he had taken butter that was not, all of this he had done. And Mother Yaśodā, of course, he threatened to punish him if he acted that way again. But in the meantime, she decided, I've got to do what I have to do. And this child is being naughty, therefore I'm going to, make him immobile, stand in one place. So the grinding mortar was there, and he took a rope, and she was going to bind Kṛṣṇa. Now, she started, but then when it came time to knot the rope, she couldn't do it because it seemed like the rope was too short. And it's 2 inches, they say, or 2 fingers, like the thickness of the finger is about 1 inch, too short. So naturally, Mother Yaśodā went and got more rope. But every time she ties it and goes around and gets to the point where she has to make the knot, she's finding out she's short by the same, about 2 inches or 2 fingers, the thickness finger, short. Again and again, he brought so many ropes. Same thing kept happening. So Kṛṣṇa is mystical. Of course, Mother Yaśodā does not know that because by the plans of Yogamaya, Mother Yaśodā is covered for the pastime to be actually genuine to her, being a mother and trying to discipline her young, beautiful child, son. But the rope, however many ropes she took, the rope, in the end, she couldn't tie a knot. So she became very tired. As a matter of fact, some of the gopis came and saw this was happening. And they were also quite astonished that Kṛṣṇa, the rope couldn't be tied to Kṛṣṇa. And they just started giggling to themselves. But Yaśodā also started giggling. And the whole thing became kind of funny, but it's also quite bewildering. So after a while, Kṛṣṇa was started being compassionate to Mother Yaśodā. All right, I'll let her bind me. So it takes love. It takes love of Kṛṣṇa to be able to be involved in Kṛṣṇa's pastimes. And Mother Yaśodā had complete love for the Lord. And the whole relationship of mother to son, Mother Yaśodā and Kṛṣṇa, was possible and was wonderful because of the potency from Kṛṣṇa himself, the potency of Yogamaya. So there are two types of, two faces of Maya, to put it that way, Mahamaya and Yogamaya. Mahamaya is the one that bewilders us, those of us conditioned souls in the material world, puts us in illusion, thinking that we are going to be happy here in the material world, when in fact, this place is not designed like that. Mahamaya is the one that makes us think that we can find solutions to life here and we'll be happy when we get our solutions. Or we come up with a different way to combine some things and come up with a new product. That product is going to make us happy. It has never happened. If anything, it's only temporary. And then we realize that it comes with a price, something that's going to be more inconvenient to us just because we come up with a new product. The fact of the matter is, as technology advances, and the fact that remains that man has 4 defects, one of it is a tendency to commit mistakes. The bigger things that we come up with, or people come up with, material things, the more consequential the mistakes are going to be when they happen. For example, and I don't wish this on anyone, but if you are in a small plane and the plane can hold about 12 people and it crashes and everybody dies, basically 12 people have left. But if we have a big plane that has 2 levels and 450 people are in there and that one crashes, this is advancement in technology. But look at the price that we have to pay for a mistake going on with a gadget like that. So it's illusory to think that when we advance in science, we're going to be happier. No, there would be greater consequence with the mistakes that we make. There will be greater consequence. That's what's going to happen. There will be some convenience, but the price that we pay for that convenience is actually heavy when it comes. Not to mention the fact that it's a new thing, and all the time, when have prices ever gone down? They keep going up and up and up and up. So the more things that we developed for material so-called convenience, the more expensive it is on us, the more our expenditure becomes difficult to handle. And that's why some people work 2 jobs, and that's why some people work 3 jobs. They work 2 jobs during the weekday and work 1 more job in the weekend, and they don't have any time for themselves, and they get tired. But they have to bring in more money. Why? Because they have all these bills to pay for these so-called new things, new gadgets that we want to use and want to live by. That's why Srila Prabhupada says, you simplify your life, then life becomes a little more bearable. The other pastime was about Kṛṣṇa eating dirt. Kṛṣṇa opened the mouth. This one, there's Kṛṣṇa eating dirt is another pastime. But this one here I said with the rope situation. Kṛṣṇa opened his mouth and Mother Yaśodā saw literally the universes, so many planets and universes in Krishna's mouth. And that bewildered her. My son, his mouth is all of this in it. So she could have thought differently after noticing that. But again, by the power of Yogamaya, I talked about Mahamaya. Actually, Yogamaya, I didn't describe Yogamaya. So Mahamaya is one that puts us in illusion. But Yogamaya is actually, it's also a way in which some sort of illusion, for lack of a better word, happens, but it's spiritual illusion. Making someone like Mother Yaśodā think that Kṛṣṇa, who's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is her son, and he's relating to her son, and not realizing that Kṛṣṇa is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yogamaya does that. So Yogamaya's activity is with the pure devotees, and she plays a role in a particular ras or relationship to sweeten the relationship, to make it more interesting for Kṛṣṇa and Krishna's devotees. So that's what Yogamaya does. So, of course, Yogamaya helped Mother Yaśodā not to think of Kṛṣṇa as the supreme, but again, to come back, even after seeing the universes in his mouth, saying that, oh, it has something to do with Lord Narayan. Actually, there's so many times demons came to Vrindavan to try to kill Kṛṣṇa, demons sent by Kamsa. And Mother Yaśodā worried about it, one thing after another, one thing after another. Kṛṣṇa actually was able to get rid of them, but in some cases, it seemed like they were going to be in all kinds of trouble. The whole Vrindavan was going to be the Vrijavasis. But Kṛṣṇa pulled them out of it. Still, because of Yogamaya, Mother Yaśodā couldn't see it that way. And he would just pray to Lord Narayan, please protect my child. But those of us sitting outside of all of this, and of course reading, we see that it's quite interesting that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is now being protected through prayers to Lord Narayan, who is actually an incarnation or expansion of the Supreme Lord himself. So if you're wondering what happened in the very end, actually when Kṛṣṇa left and killed Kamsa, stayed away for a while in Mathura, and then came back. Well, not even came back. At the time he sent Uddhava to come to Vrindavan. Uddhava was the one that was finally able to convince Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yaśodā that that little boy that you took care of and you thought was your son was actually the worshipful Supreme Personality of Godhead. It blew their minds. But at that time, Kṛṣṇa had already left. So, but Uddhava came to tell them that, and also pacify the gopis who are missing Kṛṣṇa very much. The pastimes of the Lord are wonderful, but we learn from it so that the whole idea is to get us excited about our chance to relate to Kṛṣṇa, our chance to relate to the wonderful saints who didn't, or pure devotees who never fail. We'll get a chance to relate to them again. And so hearing some things in the pastimes of the Lord, it sounds very, 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 very exciting. Srila Prabhupada says, Kṛṣṇa is not keeping us from being part of a pastime. We're the ones that are trying to make it here in the material world as if it's going to happen. So we should be prepared and keep preparing ourselves to go, to be with Kṛṣṇa, the gopis, the cowherd boys, Lord Balaram, and have this everlasting sense of wonderful joy. This is what's waiting for us. We should never forget that. There is a price, but a small price to pay. And the price is actually not really a price. It's just a question of preparing us, because we've lived this material life so long that we need to be purified. And that's just the price. The price is purification. And to get into it, we have to be eager to go through what little effort on our part that we have to put in order to be, in order to receive the mercy of the Lord, in order to go back. So the pastimes about the rope that Mother Yaśodā tried to tie Kṛṣṇa with, and he came up short by about 2 fingers or 2 inches. It's translated to mean, or the deeper meaning is, 1 finger is for effort and the other one is mercy. When we put in the effort, we attract the mercy of the Lord. We are sinners. We have been doing the wrong things lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. We also have been desiring things in the material world, and we've been put in one body after another out of these 8,400,000 types of bodies. It hasn't helped us. So now we've got to the point where, by the mercy of the Lord and our own free will, we've got to the point where we see a few things explained and now we believe them. This Krishna consciousness is the whole world over, but only some people are paying attention, who are called devotees, and some of them are not. Many of them, people are not. So to chant Hare Krishna, wake up early, to think of Krishna all the time, it's a small price to pay. To go back to a place of no anxiety, so much enjoyment and service is there. I know we say we serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but service is what relationships are made of. Every relationship involves service. So it is a loving service to the Lord. Now we're practicing with what's available here, and we are getting directions from the spiritual master, who is giving us his mercy by explaining things, and also all we have to do is just obey the orders of the bona fide spiritual master, and we will get automatically guided in the right direction. So to do that, it's really a small price to pay for what's available in the spiritual world. As we read many other books, Brihad Bhagavatamita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Garga Samhita, so many things are pointed out, and you're getting a picture, you begin to get a picture of the wonderful relationships that are there, and how the spiritual world itself is designed, and how effulgent, how wonderful it is. That's home. But in the meantime, we're in this place, the Earth, one planet in a small universe, and many universes in this material world, and we're going through suffering from our own minds, suffering from other living entities, suffering from the weather, which is controlled by the demigods, and then we're going through all kinds of disease, and then we get old, and then we can't avoid death. So why do we want to be here? That's all things that happen in the material world. So in the meantime, Kṛṣṇa is playing with his playmates, the cowherd boys, and they're having such fun. And Srila Prabhupada says, Kṛṣṇa is not stopping us. In fact, if anything, he's beckoning us. Come join us and have fun like we do. So that's what's there. So in one more pastime, where Kṛṣṇa also opened his mouth, speaking about having fun. Now, Kṛṣṇa is the source of everything. But in this particular pastime, he was with his playmates and Lord Balaram. They were together. And the cowherd boys complained to Mother Yaśodā later that Kṛṣṇa has eaten dirt. Lord Balaram also said the same thing. Kṛṣṇa has eaten dirt. So then Mother Yaśodā questioned Kṛṣṇa. Complaint has been lodged against you by all your playmates, including your elder brother Balaram. How is this? You're so restless, you've eaten dirt in a solitary place? Then Kṛṣṇa says, my dear mother, I've never eaten dirt. All my friends that are complaining about me are liars. And if you think they are being truthful, then you can look into my mouth, see if there's any dirt in my mouth. Now, on looking at it from this point that Kṛṣṇa has made, you would think, oh, Kṛṣṇa is not telling the truth. But Kṛṣṇa is actually sweetening the relationship between himself and his mother. See, when we do things that are wrong, because we are conditioned souls and we are actually criminals, then we are liable to be punished. But at Krishna's level, his activities, as he says, janma karma chamedi, his activities are transcendental. So even when we hear like that, we should never think that this is like the way it is according to our laws here, that tries to guide us, and Kṛṣṇa is bound by the laws here. Actually, that couldn't be more wrong. Kṛṣṇa is not bound by anybody's law. He's the one that is the generator of everything. How can the law bind Kṛṣṇa? So Kṛṣṇa acts in order to sweeten the relationship between him and his devotees, even if it means he tells a different story from what really is. That is Kṛṣṇa. And that we have to understand. And our mind should never go to the point of blaming Kṛṣṇa. Oh, Kṛṣṇa has done this, that's wrong. Kṛṣṇa has done that, that's wrong. People who think that way, they'll never develop love for Kṛṣṇa. Kṛṣṇa does what he does in order to sweeten the relationship between him and his devotees, period. That's what a devotee is supposed to think. And so whatever he does, we don't question. But if you look closely at it, you will see that there's love involved in it. So Kṛṣṇa said, you think that I've eaten dirt? Well, then the dirt should be in my mouth, then, or at least some of it should be on my tongue. Just look at it. So Mother Yaśodā challenged Kṛṣṇa. If you have not eaten dirt, then open your mouth wide. And when Mother Yaśodā challenged Kṛṣṇa in this way, Kṛṣṇa, just to exhibit pastimes like a human child, he opened his mouth. But then he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is full of all opulences. What was seen by Mother Yaśodā was, again, the material creation, the planets, the universes, and even more. He saw the environment, and she saw herself in Kṛṣṇa's mouth. And of course, for any mother, the son has a small mouth open and you see all of that. That would be very bewildering. So Kṛṣṇa made Mother Yaśodā see moving and non-moving entities, outer space, all directions, mountains, islands, oceans, the surface of the earth, blowing wind. He saw fire, he saw the moon, he saw the stars, he saw the planetary systems, he saw the sky, she saw all of those. And it's like, what is this? But the Yaśodā was totally flawed by what she saw. Then Mother Yaśodā said, am I dreaming? Or is this just an illusory creation by the external energy? Has this been manifested by my own intelligence? Or is it some mystic power of my child? Therefore, she said, well, I cannot really have a good answer to this, so what should I do? She thought, let me surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead and offer my obeisances to him. What a lesson for us to learn. When Mother Yaśodā was bewildered, she thought of surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, albeit that she didn't know that that was standing right in front of her. Still, she was thinking, I have to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, offer my obeisances to him. He is beyond the conception of human speculation, mind, activities, words, arguments, and he is the original cause of this cosmic manifestation. See? But the Yaśodā was bewildered, but she thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Albeit Yogamaya had said things in such a way that she didn't really know that the child in front of him was in fact the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the śulbaṁ. But she thought to offer obeisances and surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When we go through any bewilderment, we have to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hopefully remember him. And we remember by chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa. Then we remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the Yaśodā was always thinking about Kṛṣṇa because that relationship of parent to child was there. And her whole life was around, Kṛṣṇa. How to satisfy Kṛṣṇa. And so for her, it came simply. Just like when we get back to spiritual world, that will also come as a matter of just existence. But for us here in the material world, we have that to learn. And therefore, we also have to put in great effort in everything that we do in devotional service. Bhakti yoga. Karma yoga is also good. What is karma yoga? From our own kind hearts, we should give of what we earn from the effort that we put in, work, whatever that comes to us, we give to Kṛṣṇa. We give to Kṛṣṇa conscious projects, especially ISKCON projects, and more so the temple that we belong to. The more we give, the happier Kṛṣṇa will be with us. And the more we give, the more Kṛṣṇa makes other opportunities available so we can serve more. And with that, we become happier and happier and happier. Our duty is to serve. So the 2 fingers too short for the first pastime represent the effort by devotees attracting the mercy of the Lord. Effort and mercy. Effort and mercy. So we must endeavor to serve in a very determined way so that the Lord becomes pleased and Guru becomes pleased with our efforts. Secondly, we must always meditate on the Supreme Lord, his form, his pastimes, his beauty, his strength, which is all explained when you just hear his pastimes and you chant the Supreme Personality of Godhead name. And actually, when you read more and hear more, you realize that his potency of enunciation is so cute, lack of a better way to put it. You think the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's washing the feet of those who came to Maharaj Yudhishthira's palace. The Supreme Lord is washing their feet. This is also one of the potencies of renunciation. When the Lord does menial things, in general, it's explained in menial things, that is the exhibition of his potency of renunciation. We have to remember always, this is our last point, that this material, this is called a phenomenal world, is not designed to make us happy. It is a life, the life we lead here is full of struggle. So what do? We must beg the mercy of Lord Chaitanya to keep us excited in Krishna consciousness, because that's where we will derive the most pleasure. And that is also the same thing that helps us to develop love for Supreme Personality of Godhead so we can go back and join him and be part of his pastimes. He's waiting on us. It's just that we have to turn our attention to him. Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. So thank you, dear devotees. This is the time we normally have discussions, questions, whatever that struck you that you wanted to, talk about that connects maybe to something else that you've heard before, some takeaways like that. You can unmute yourself and join in. Let's have some Krishna Katha. I want to kind of call on Vishnu, but I won't put you on the spot. It's up to you if you want to make some comments. Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Well, it's okay if I'm on the spot. I don't always respond well. I'm on the spot, but that's okay. So you were mentioning, Prabhu, about when the milk was on the stove and was boiling over, and that's when Lord Krishna appeared to get angry. Of course, that milk on the stove was also being prepared for the pleasure of Krishna. It wasn't for some other person.
That's true.
So then and then you mentioned how even ordinary parents know that when the child is being fed, you don't do anything else. You don't interrupt that. So was it that Mother Yaśodā, she didn't know that, or was it the effect of Yogamaya or Mahamaya that she got distracted, or was it just you know what I'm saying?
I understand.
Yeah, where that's so in devotional service, devotees do multiple tasks. So she was churning the butter and feeding Lord Krishna, and the milk was on the stove. That's a lot of stuff to do at the same time.
Multitasking, yes.
Yeah, so when you multitask, how do you know what to do first or not to do second and like that?
If we just stay on that particular pastime, the Lord is the cause of all causes. So behind this, he always was doing things to excite Mother Yaśodā. And literally, he was like a puppeteer in terms of playing with the Mother Yaśoda's feelings. One here, the other thing happens. We can look at it seriously and say, well, the Lord controls everything. If the Lord wanted, he could have kept the milk from boiling over. If he wanted, he could have kept it from boiling over. But the whole idea of Mother Yaśodā and Kṛṣṇa is to sweeten pastimes involving the Lord and his devotee. Because one thing led to another. After this whole point of Kṛṣṇa reacting to not or the Mother Yaśodā stopping him from breastfeeding, continuing to breastfeed, came the rest. The follow up is, all right, Kṛṣṇa says this boy is naughty. I'm going to tie the grinding, the mortar for grinding, or the stone. He tied it with the ropes, and the rope, of course, we've gone through the pastime already of the ropes not being sufficient. But finally, when Kṛṣṇa allows him, so another emotion of Mother Yaśodā, this time another emotion, and then she finally ties. But then what happens? This is not part of this text, but Kṛṣṇa took off, crawling with this mortar behind him, and then he went to the yard, to the two Arjuna trees, and he just crawled between them. And so the rope was, tying it's behind him, it's tied to this mortar, and the mortar got stuck. And Kṛṣṇa pulled, and the Arjuna trees fell, which means the Arjuna trees left, the souls left the body of the trees, and the souls were Nala Kubara and Manigriva, who had been cursed by Narada Muni to stand in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj for 100 years of demigods. 36,000 years. The demigod years, you just multiply by 360, and that changes to our number of years. So 100 times 360. That long. But they were to be released according to Narada's promise. After he cursed them, he says, you will be here, but then the Supreme Personality of Godhead will release you. So those two demigods, the sons of Kuvera, they were released. But it all started from this whole thing about the milk, and then from the milk to Kṛṣṇa, starting to eat butter, and then Mother Yaśodā chasing him and finally catching up with him, and then finally binding him, so he doesn't move around anymore. And then Kṛṣṇa moves, and that's how Manigriva and Nalakuvara get released. So it's one thing joining another, which means that Kṛṣṇa is actually the puppeteer behind all of this. So it makes it an interesting situation one after another.
So there was no aspect that Lord Kṛṣṇa was trying to teach Mother Yaśodā a lesson.
Now, as a child, he was just performing pastimes to kind of play with the emotions of Mother Yaśodā, more so than anything else.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. At least that's my understanding of it.
What do you make of so your kind of idea was that it happened twice, that the Lord Kṛṣṇa opened his mouth and Mother Yaśodā saw the universal form there. Of course.
But that's what it's saying. I know about Kṛṣṇa eating dirt, and the cowherd boys know about it. I'm telling Mother Yaśodā that he's eating dirt, and Mother Yaśodā asking him to open his mouth. He saw the universes also. But here is also indicating that at that time when he was being bound, he also opened his mouth. Yeah. That's what
the other one is just the previous chapter in the 10th canto. So no, we're in the 3rd canto now. So I'm just wondering, I don't know. It's just there are 2 events. It could be 10 events. It could have happened 10 times, but we don't know.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you on this point, because Kṛṣṇa is unlimited. The pastimes are going all the time, and Bhagavatam tells some of it gives us a whiff of it to kind of excite us. Because I know in books like Garga Samhita and we had Bhagavatam, there are other things, even about the pastimes that's in the Bhagavatam, other parts are added to it. it makes it even more interesting. Yeah. So it's certainly not all. You can't write about a personality that's unlimited about this pastime and be able to describe it all. So that's I can agree with that easily.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Glory to the Prabhupada. Any other comments or questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my
Hare
humble
Krishna. Bless you, Prabhupada.
devotees on the call. Yeah, it's a blissful class, Prabhu. I was in
It's
bliss
just
hearing.
pastimes.
Wonderful. Uh, I was actually remembering 2 weeks ago.
Mm.
Yeah, the week before, uh, the weekend before last. I
Yeah.
was actually out at the retreat.
Mm. Yeah,
and
you went for a retreat.
yeah, and we were all we were, I think, 40 students. Yeah, 40 college students, between 20 to 30 years. And it was amazing. We were hearing classes like it was marathon classes. We were having like 1.5 hour classes, morning,
Mm.
evening, maybe in the afternoon a little bit. There was a drama. Then people were like, cooking food,
Mm.
cooking like every meal was like. For like at least the afternoon was like, we were like making like five kinds of preps. Then in the evening we'll have like a snacks thing, because in the afternoon we'll full we were like, having a like a huge lunch. And then
Mm.
in the morning we'll like simple breakfast. But like when we are cooking as well, there is a lot of fun going on, like, first there will be some class, then there will be some chit chatting, then we'll hear kirtans, so everyone will be singing kirtans. And some people are like, telling some story from their past and this and that. So like, the way you were mentioning that, how uh, like the way Krishna's pastimes are,
Mm.
and how my experience was at the retreat, it really makes me like, more comfortable and convincing that the process of Krishna consciousness is blissful. We might
Yeah.
be giving up certain things, but anyways, those are not helping out with our current situation, not helping out with our material lives either. So, and when I come to Krishna consciousness, we do a lot of things, we do similar things, but like there is a lot of difference in the
In the
consciousness.
moods. Yeah. Yeah.
It's really
Exactly.
wonderful. Like, when I was gone, like, some of the services were taken care of by the devotees in Harrisburg. So that was
Mm.
like, I was grateful about it. And then when I went there, I had some DT service, but I didn't have proper clothes. So there was another person who like helped me out with that. So, you also get the mood of gratitude. You get to learn
Mm-hmm.
a lot of things. And then when I come back, like 2 weeks later, I'm still like remembering those things. So you're still in the blissful atmosphere. You're still in the blissful atmosphere.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like that was my take. Like, take kind of that will be like always in bliss. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank.
Devotee association and functions, and when people just they get together to play, it's very, very, very wonderful. And then they help each other, we eat together. There is yearly yearly program in New Vrindavan, called the month. um it's a retreat, a weekend, and devotees go to New Vrindavan. It's for the men. And so many things are discussed good for devotee life, so many lectures and so on. But then there's always a time where we have, relaxation, and rest time, and then pastimes. And I know the first time that I went, 4 o'clock in the afternoon was supposed to be the break, and then we'll have the dinner later on. And so we all gathered just in the lawn close to the temple area. And first, a number of things were planned. They made the māti cook, and they offered gulab jamuns. And the Buddhists like Gulabdhamins quite a bit. But the Gulabdhamins were not just put there for the Buddhists to take whatever they wanted. It was turned into a game. And there were a number of guys, and that's where I was, in one side with the Gulabdhamins in front of us. And then on the lawn, there were quite a few, other guys too, about 4 or 5 guys. It was a competition. Um, you're supposed to, the winner would be one that was able to eat as many gulabdamins. It's not like you just take it. Those of us in front of the gulabdamins, we were supposed to take one and throw it up in the air in the direction of those with the guys who were on the lawn, in the grass. And they're supposed to be able to open their mouths, and while this thing is in the air, adjust their mouths that the gulabdamin comes straight into their mouths without them touching it. So if you can imagine. So a few of us were tossing the gulabdamins, and that's up in the air, high in the air. These other guys, of course, the younger guys, they were all adjusting so that the gulabdamins land right in their mouths. And there was one guy that actually they won, but it was so funny. And the gulabdamins are very tasty. Most of it were just used for the game, and then the rest of it because we enjoyed it. And later on, we watched a play by his by one of our sannyasis, Bhakti Mark Swami put out a play, and then there was Kirtan and bhuvanāni, then they were all there, So yeah, some of these pastimes are wonderful, and then we talk about serious matters too that plagues those of us in male body devotees, the challenges in our material life and how it impacts on Krishna consciousness and what to do. We have so many people advising, so such when you go for those kind of retreats, you come back quite surcharged. And they have I think it's November or so, and there'll be an advertisement for those who may want to go. Cool. So yeah, pastimes and activities like that is also part of the fun that the Buddhists have here while we wait for the real fun in the spiritual world. Or if you go to Vrindavan in the next life, you're part of the Krishna's team, Krishna and Balaram's team. But yeah, there's so much fun involved in this too. Hare Krishna. Jai. Thank you for talking about yours. But it reminded me of the mantra retreat too. Any other questions
I
or
remember
comments?
the one time, I think it was the year before last, I guess. We went,
Mm-hmm.
I think 2 years back. Yeah. It was wonderful. I remember we went to Colby. Who else was there? I think Mandip Prabhu was there. Nitya Gopal Prabhu was there. You and yeah, it was wonderful.
Yeah,
Even driving, it was wonderful in the drive as well.
it was fun. It's a lot. I think you and me went one time to New Vrindavan also. I remember because you drove the van when we went to
Yeah,
New
yeah. So
Vrindavan. Yeah.
we were
Mm-hmm.
that same year we went with Mandip Prabhu, Colby, Nitya Gopal Prabhu, and who else were there? There were a couple of more people, I forgot. But it was
Yeah.
wonderful on the road as
Yeah.
well.
The whole idea is to have fun, but also in Krishna consciousness. So you get to talk about Krishna. I know in going to New Vrindavan in the van, questions were being asked about Krishna, what we remembered about the pastimes of Krishna. We were just kind of laughing and sharing and like that. Even just in driving to the program in New Vrindavan, we were already talking about Krishna consciousness stuff, pastimes of the Lord. And we learned from each other like that. Whether if you didn't know the pastime and you heard somebody else talk about it, you got to know like that. Mhm. So yeah, this is our party. Life is a party for devotees. When we get to the spiritual world, we constantly party. It's an eternal party going on. Hare Krishna. Any final questions or comments? If not, then we thank you very much for coming on and have a wonderful, wonderful Krishna conscious day. Vanchakalpatarubhasya kripa sindhibhi cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you again. Hare Krishna. Jai.